Hello everyone, my name is Jenna Thompson and I'm a speech and language therapist working in London under the wonderful company Words First Limited. I graduated from the University of Cape Town in 2022 with a Bachelor of Science in Speech and Language Pathology. I then went on to complete my year of community service for the Western Cape Government in 2023 and I began my journey with Words First in February 2024. From being recruited in South Africa, completing the onboarding process, and now working in schools in the UK, it has been so exciting, a little bit challenging, but overall an incredibly rewarding experience. And so I just hope that my story inspires you or at least informs you if you're considering a similar move or just curious about the process. So I'm going to start at the very beginning. Having already had an interest in working abroad, I decided to contact a speech and language therapist who I knew was working in London. She then put me in contact or informed me about Words First and put me in contact with the powerhouse that is Amanda Davies, our director, and Leah Etherington, our recruitment lead. From then onwards, it was just a few interviews and some short tasks before I was offered my role as a Band 5 speech and language therapist at the company. Words First recruits therapists from all over the world, with currently approximately 150 therapists from 19 different countries speaking 32 different languages across the team. And so it was clear that Words First were and are looking for professionals with strong training, adaptable skills, and a passion for supporting children in education. Overall, the process was fairly straightforward, but very thorough. And I really appreciated this because it just allowed me to know what was expected of me at each stage, as well as gave me confidence in the organization. And the interview process had two stages. It consisted of the first interview, which was a more general get to know me, my experience as a SALT, and my goals. And the second interview was a lot more specific and practical. They wanted to know exactly how I would assess and intervene in a school context, which had a strong focus on adaptability and creativity. One thing that I really, really loved about this stage was how supportive the team was. They weren't just interviewing me, they were answering my questions and guiding me through the process. And this just ensured that I felt confident in my decision to make the big relocation. Once I was successful and accepted my offer, Words First helped me with all the logistics. This included getting my visa sorted out, understanding the UK education and healthcare system, as well as, and very importantly, understanding cultural differences, since, like South Africa, the UK is one big melting pot. Now, this leads me on to the onboarding process, which was a great reassurance. When I arrived in the UK, Words First didn't just throw me into the deep end, thank goodness. There was an onboarding program which covered everything I needed to know. So, first, there was training. This focused on understanding the UK education and healthcare system, which, let's just say, is slightly different to what we're used to in South Africa. And so this taught me a little bit about the special education needs structures, the funding systems, and the specific terminology that is used here, which is crucial because almost everything is abbreviated. I also had the opportunity to observe more experienced therapists in the beginning, which gave me an added confidence boost. Watching them work in schools was extremely helpful and gave me practical insight into how I could apply my skills in this new environment, as well as watch the Words First approach in action. And then with regards to wellbeing support, I cannot praise Words First enough. I was fully supported by my team, which is made up of a team leader, clinical supervisors who are experienced in the setting that you'll be working in, a mentor, and my onboarding cohort. The type of support that was on offer included setting up bank accounts, finding accommodation, organizing paperwork and documents, and just regular check-ins to see how I was coping, as well as the names of some treasured pubs and where to find Percy pigs if that's what you're into. I was a team sport player throughout school, and so the feeling that I could compare starting at Words First to would be joining a very cohesive team where communication, empathy, and sharing are the priority. And this feeling is still consistent with what I feel today, 10 months later. Okay, so now I will tell you a little bit about what I do in schools. If I could sum it up in one word, I would say dynamic. Every single day is different, and I absolutely love it. Schools are able to buy in therapists for however many days they need or have funding for, and so the number of days you spend in a school or how many schools you are placed in across the week may vary. I'm currently in 2 mainstream primary schools and loving it. Amanda does her best to listen to your area of special interest, so she could hopefully place you in a school where you would receive that kind of exposure. The primary schools here are wonderfully diverse, and it's such a privilege to work with children from so many different cultural and linguistic backgrounds. Sometimes I even get to draw on my South African roots so I can connect with children who may be feeling a little bit out of place. A typical day at schools would involve assessing children who are referred to me either by the teacher or the special education needs coordinator, running therapy sessions, either one-on-one, small groups, or training teaching staff, including the teachers or the teachers' assistants, or providing a more universal whole school or whole class intervention, as well as also collaborating with parents and teachers. I think it's about time I address the elephant in the room. One thing living near the coast in South Africa has in common with living in the UK is that you are often wet. I have certainly traded in my swimming costumes for umbrellas and raincoats, although for ergonomics sake, one day the streets of London might actually see me in my swimming costume. But on a serious note, I have learned to appreciate London for what it has to offer, and that is a city that is teeming with life and culture, and it certainly is a challenge to get bored. But other than struggling to get bored, there definitely are other challenges. Schools are faced with their own set of pressures, and it's usually around time constraints and funding. However, WordsFirst has been a constant source of support for me by being such a flexible and solution-focused organization. And whenever I felt a little bit lonely or homesick, all I have to do is check the company social calendar to see when the next therapist-led event is taking place. Every single month, a supervisor at the company takes their turn to plan and host an event, whether it be a meal or an activity in and around London, where all therapists are welcome for some light-hearted fun, tasty treats, and a catch-up. I think with any big move, whether it be houses, jobs, hemispheres, or all three, there will be some nerves and uncertainty involved. However, joining Words First has been one of the most rewarding decisions I've ever made, and this was made possible through the amount of thought that has gone into ensuring a smooth transition occurs, as well as access to ongoing support within the company. It's not just about the work, which is incredibly fulfilling. It's about the personal growth and professional growth I've experienced in my 10 months since being in the UK. And so, to anyone considering this move, I think it's clear that I would say, go for it. Take the leap. It's an incredible chance to make a meaningful impact while stepping out your comfort zone and growing in ways you never imagined. And wonderful exposure to a greater diversity of cultures, languages, travel, and food. It's all at your fingertips. And so, thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any questions about the work here or what it's like to be a speech and language therapist here, please get in contact with our recruitment lead, Leah Etherington. She would happily guide you.